Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mayor Rich Hill with the Village of Round Lake Beach, and welcome to our Fireside Chat for August 29, 2018. Tonight we have our guest is Rebeca Noriega, the Consul of Mexico. Welcome, Rebeca. A little bit about Rebeca. She's been a member of the Mexican Foreign Affairs Ministry since 2013. For the past 2 years, she's been the head of the mobile unit of the Consulate General of Mexico in Chicago. She studied international relations at the Autonomous University of Baja California. She's been involved in various social studies projects, including the study of women's violent deaths in the north border of Mexico, and collaborating and organizing of the Human Trafficking Task Force of Southern California, and the design of the Human Rights Agency of Baja California, Mexico. Welcome, Rebeca.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. And on behalf of our Consul General, Carlos Jimenez Macias, I want to thank you for having us, and he extends his regards to you and to the fine people of Round Lake Beach.
Well, thank you very much. I wish him well also with us. Thank you. We have a panel of three distinguished people to help us here tonight. If you need to introduce yourself, please.
My name is Kevin Bueso, and I'm the Finance Director for the Village of Round Lake Beach.
I'm Carolina Duque. I'm Constituent Service Representative for Congressman Brad Schneider.
And my name is Luis Fuentes. I'm with Fundraising Director for La Coalición de Latinos Unidos, Lake County.
Well, appreciate you coming out tonight and being part of our Fireside Chat tonight. You can begin your questions whenever you're ready.
Okay. This first question is for Consul Rebeca. To introduce how the Mexican consulate works, would you go over the details on how the Mexican consul staff is selected?
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to point out that the Mexican consulate has been established in the Midwest since the 19th century. Wow. That means that we've been here over 130 years. We've been around for a while. You
haven't been here the whole time, have you?
No, I have not. I hope I don't look that old. But so our Consul General, Carlos Jimenez Macias, he was appointed by our President, Enrique Peña Nieto, and every Consul General is appointed by a President and ratified by the Senate. And our Deputy Consul, Antonio Cuesta, those are the two main figures of our General Consul. And we have a staff of over 120 people. From those, about 15 are members of the Foreign Service, like myself. And these staff of 15 members of the Foreign Service, we are in charge of different areas, departments within the consulate. I'm going to be talking about the different areas. As a general overview, we have the documentation department, the protection department, and the community affairs department. So foreign affairs members are the ones in charge of these areas, and then we have staff members that are so valuable and help us be able to serve our community and be able to provide all of the services from each of these areas.
Yeah, we all have that. The staff actually does all the work.
Yes, they do.
Well, that's great to hear. Go ahead, continue.
So that's how it's basically formed. We have a main office, which is located at 204 South Ashland Avenue, and that's in Chicago. And then we have a satellite office, which is called the mobile unit, that right now is right here in Round Lake Beach. And this mobile unit travels 46 weeks out of the year and provides services to different areas from our jurisdiction. We'll talk about what a jurisdiction is as well throughout our chat. And we bring our services closer to our community.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, our next question is for Mayor Hill. How long you've been the mayor, and is this the first time that you partnered with the Mexican consulate to bring the services to the area?
I've been mayor for 17 years, since 2001. Before that, I was on the board as a trustee for 6 years, since 1995. And before that, I was on the Park District Board of Commissioners for 3 years, from 92 to 95. Before that, I was involved with the Chamber of Commerce for probably 8 or 9 years, and so I have a lot of history in Round Lake Beach. I moved to Round Lake Beach back in 1977, lived here ever since. Love the community. I've seen it change tremendously over the years. Many of you probably came down Rylands Road on your way here. There was a little 2-lane road when I moved out here, and now it's a big 5-lane, well, an expressway, but carries a lot of cars, a lot of vehicles every single day now. The whole north side where we're at right now, part of this area was a junkyard, the rest of it was a big pasture. Cows were out here, lots of trees. It was a totally different community back then. It's changed a lot for the better, but I certainly missed the big pastures that were out here and the stands of trees, all the evergreens and all. It was pretty wonderful. So was there more to that question?
This is the first time you worked with the consulate?
First time I've probably worked with the consulate. They've been out before for the Mexican fiestas and so forth. They've met the General Counsel, General Counsel of Mexico several times, and like I said, they do change over the years. Not always the same person. We've worked with a lot of other organizations in the same area, but as far as the General Counsel, yes, this is basically the first time we've sat down and had a long chat like this.
Thank you for your answer. The next question is for Consul Rebeca. Can you please tell us if the consul, the one that's in Chicago, what are the areas that it covers? If it is just for the state of Illinois, or do you go and surround for surrounding states in there? What are the areas that the consulate covers?
Okay, so we have, the Mexican government has 50 consulates in the United States.
Wow.
And the Mexican consulate in Chicago covers the center north part of Illinois and the north part of Indiana for a total of 87 counties. Now, the way that we work and the way that this is established, it depends on the amount of community that we have in a region. Now, the Mexican consulate covers an area of 1.6 million Mexicans and second, third generation Mexicans. So it's a large population. There are other areas, for example, that cover, it all depends on the different characteristics of the area. We have states that have more consulates than, for example, Illinois. The south of Illinois is covered by the consulate in Indianapolis. So we will work by jurisdiction. So, for example, I was saying California has over 9 consulates. So it all depends on the amount of people that require the services, not only nationals, also foreigners that demand our services. We also have a lot of foreigners that demand different services from the consulate. So, and I would like to take this opportunity because we've had these questions a lot of times. What is a consulate and what kind of services they offer? And a lot of people don't know that there are U.S. consulates in Mexico, and that there are several U.S. consulates besides the embassy in Mexico City. So, for example, if any U.S. national that is traveling in Mexico needs a service, they can go to their closest consulate and ask for any of the services that we provide in here as well to any other consulates, mostly in one of those touristy areas. You're talking about Cancun or Los Cabos, but also very industrial cities like Tijuana or Monterrey or Guadalajara. So we have to keep that in mind as well, that consulates, they're not only in this side of the border, it's also, it's a policy of a good neighbor to have them in both sides of the border.
Oh, very true. As people travel, especially if something happens, it's difficult sometimes for them to get the right services and people that can help them through their problems without having a consulate to go to. So it's very beneficial to anyone that travels.
Exactly, and it's not even not even if you lose your passport and you go to your consulate because you need it replaced, but for example, if you need a power of attorney, or if you need legal services, if you need any kind of advice, even for economical advice, or if you need help for trade business, that's what these consulates and embassies are there for.
Consul, can you talk to us if you can explain how the consulate works with the U.S. government and the Mexican government? How is that relationship? How does it work?
Well, we have our embassy in Washington, and our embassy in Washington takes care of all of the political affairs, and our consulates take care of consular affairs and takes care of any issues with local authorities. That's how we work. And we focus here in Chicago with the affairs that has to do with any issues regarding nationals in our jurisdiction, and the affairs that have to do with local authorities. We work closely with the governor's office and mayor's office, and we work closely with local authorities of the places that we visit. And as the mobile unit visits several places, we get together with local authorities to ensure that we are providing the best services that we can on both sides. It's beneficial for both sides to be in good terms, to collaborate, and to be able to be on a same line of dialogue, to have better understanding and better way to treat our community.
Thank you. The next question is for Mayor. How does the Village of Round Lake work with other entities to promote the services of the village to its residents?
We work with several different organizations, the units of local government, the park district, the school district. We try to filter information through them to go hold into families. We also have even something as simple as a DARE program for the kids in school. Our police officers go into the school system to work with the children, help them, teach them about the dangers of gangs and drugs and things like that. And that filters back to the families also. We work with a lot of nonprofits. Mano a Mano is one of them that we work together with, doing different outreaches. We have several other not-for-profits that do festivals at our localities here that we work with. Again, to reach out to our community, bring people together. So I say when neighbors know neighbors, things are much better in a community than they don't know neighbors, both for keeping crime down and also just a general feeling of comfortness in your own community.
This question is for Consul Rebeca. You talked a little bit about the locations, so like California, Indianapolis, and other locations. How does the Mexican consulate decide on those locations besides, location, like demographics? Are there any other factors that go into placing a consulate office at a certain location, for example?
You mean on a federal level, like the Mexican government? Yes, it has to do with the demand of the population. We recently, a couple of years ago, opened an office in Milwaukee. It used to belong to the jurisdiction of Chicago, and there was a request to open an office because the population grew large. It was very large, and they demanded an office there. So there was paperwork involved, there was a petition, so ultimately the Department of State gets involved as well, and they have to approve a new consulate. And our offices in Mexico, of course, they have to see if it's feasible to open another office, and if that location is appropriate for us. So we work together with the U.S. government to determine if it's a good location for us to open, and that's how we decide to get an office open. But yes, It borns from the necessity of seeing if we have enough population, if we have enough population, if it's good to promote culture and business, because it's not only about providing services, passports, matriculas, protection services, but we also have a range of services that we promote, or business and opportunities, education, trade, sports. There's so many subjects and themes that the consulate handles. Is not only limited to documentation or protection services, and that's something that we always want to have the Mexican and the community be aware of, that the consulate is so much more than what we always know from the surface, and that's something that we always want to get out there.
Now, regarding partnership, you briefly talk about it. When you bring the mobile unit to different communities, how does those partnerships form? Is it initiated by the consulate, or is it local communities? How do you create those partnerships to bring the mobile unit to different communities?
It goes both ways. Sometimes the consulate initiates those partnerships, and sometimes it's the other way around. Right now, we're very happy that we got the opportunity and this invitation by our mayor, by Representative Schneider, to come here and be working at the Round Lake Beach Village
Cultural and Civic Center.
Civic Center.
It's a long word.
little bit long. We're very happy. It's the first time we're here. We worked for several months to make it possible. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but eventually we're very, very happy to make this partnership work, and we hope that it's the first of several, and it's the first of a long friendship between the city of Round Lake Beach and the consulate, and that's how it begins. We hope that we can get law enforcement involved, then we invite them to our consulates. We show them how we process documents, we let them know about the security measures in our documents, and we get them involved in our process. Then we get them together with our protection department, and that's how we start establishing stronger bonds. From there, we jump to the next city, and that's how we start building stronger ties with our communities. So a lot, we go out and we look for new spaces, and some others, when local authorities work with us and they know how well we work and they start knowing us and they know our work, well, they talk to their colleagues and they kind of put a good word out and they invite us.
Word of mouth is always the best.
Exactly.
Thank you. The next question is for Mayor Hill. Consul Rebecca talked about partnerships and what you had to do to build something stronger and towards the future. And Round Lake is moving forward in a lot of aspects, social and economically. What are your partnership with another agencies at state level that they bring Round Lake moving forward? Or are you partnering with another organization at state level to move Round Lake forward?
I've served on the Illinois Municipal League, which is a statewide board of elected mayors. There's about 36 of us on the board from throughout the whole state of Illinois. There's, I think, 1,289 communities in Illinois, and of that, 36 of us serve on the board. We work with the state government, we work with some nonprofits, mostly with the state government, federal government, trying to help them to understand what our communities need and what our residents need. It's not an easy process. Sometimes they are so far removed from the day-to-day of a community, they don't really understand what people like yourselves go through on a day-to-day basis, and how when they make a small change downstate or in Washington, how severely it can affect how we try to provide services to you. And that's probably our biggest challenge, getting that word across. As it's easy to sit over here and say, oh, they can just do it this way. It's easy, but it doesn't always work out that way in the end.
Thank you, and my mistake is Brownlee Beach.
Yes.
This question is for Consul Rebeca. Talking almost the same question as far as partnerships, whether it's at the state level within the United States or in Mexico. How do you develop those relationships beyond the ones that you just mentioned? With communities.
Well, the Mexican Consulate has over 50 partnerships with state and local organizations. And these range from education, health, civil. It has a wide variety of organizations. And they work either in the consulate or in their offices, or they sometimes travel with us in the mobile unit. And they've been with us for many, many years. We're always trying to add more organizations to the Mexican Consulate, and some of them are by contract, and some of them are by word. So we do try to increase them, and we do try to promote these partnerships. And as I said, just as we do with local authorities and with organizations in the outside, when the mobile unit goes out, or the Mexican Consulate, we still try to get more and more organizations to come to the consulate and to make these partnerships. If it's either let me put one example, one that we just did in Fort Wayne. We had a partnership with a state library in which we donated books, Spanish books, and they put them out in the library so we can promote Mexican culture and Mexican literature. So they have them out, and they'll have them for a certain time, and then we can renew those books. So these kind of partnerships are the ones that we also look not only in a certain level, but a cultural and education level as well. So we're always looking for new ones in every single level.
So today I was able to see your very efficient operation. Can you tell us what services the consulate provides, and what's the process? What do people do when they come here to the mobile unit?
Yes, and let me go a little bit back. I want to talk first about the services that we provide in our offices in Chicago. Our General Consul, Carlos Jimenez, who has been in office for 5 years now, approximately 5 years, since he got in office, he had one thing in mind, and he was to provide integral services. He had this vision of having all of our services brought to the to the mobile unit. So we have consolidated that in the mobile unit, which we are so happy because we are giving more to the community. So let me talk about what's in our offices, and then what you can see here in the mobile unit. So we have a documentation department, and in that documentation department, you can process passports, consular IDs, voters' IDs, which is very important. These are IDs that we process here in the mobile unit or in our offices in Chicago. We process them, and then our federal institute mails them directly to whoever has made the application, and those voters' ID are used to vote in our elections in Mexico. And you can also process your birth certificates. That's something that has only been around for a few years. Before, you had to ask someone that you knew in Mexico to send you your birth certificate if it was damaged, if you didn't have it. Now you can print it here. And a few months ago, now you can print it at home, your own birth certificate. So these are advances that the Mexican government have been working to to help our community have their services on hand and to expedite their services. In the documentation department, we have vital records in which you can get married, you can have your dual citizenship, you can register if somebody died from your family members and you want to take their bodies to Mexico, you can register their death here. And we have public notary. If anyone, it doesn't have to be a Mexican, if anyone wants to buy a property, needs to do anything in Mexico and they can't go there, well, they can have a public document made in the Mexican consulate and then have the proper representation in Mexico. So that's part of the documentation department, and one of the most visited one for foreigners is our visa department. We have a lot of traffic in that department. We have a lot of people that want to go and retire in Mexico. So they apply for either permanent or temporary residencies in Mexico. And then we have others that are applying for travel visas. So that's a very, very popular department in the documentation department. And then we have our community department, in which our community department promotes culture, education, sports, and health. They have so many programs that I could not have enough time to mention it. But if anyone is interested in continuing their studies, if there's anyone that wants to apply for a scholarship, if there's anyone who wants to see about getting into continuing sports, or wants to know how to buy a property in Mexico, or needs advice on how to handle their finances, the community department can help you in the Mexican consulate. And then we have one of our most interesting departments, which is the protection department of the Mexican consulate. Our protection department is in charge of overviewing anyone who has issues with, or that is in charge of protecting human rights. They work in seeing anything that is involved with civil law, with labor law, anyone who needs advice if they have any sort of problems with family matters or immigration, anything involved with legal affairs, they can go through the protection department. It is designed to guide you legally. There is a hotline that is very important for us that you know. It's a hotline that it's available 24 hours. It's called CIAM. It's the Center for Information and Attention for Mexicans. The number is 1-855-463-6395. And you can find that number in our webpage from the Mexican Consulate. And it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that hotline can guide you towards any issue you have, whether it's information because you don't know where a family member is, or if you need advice because you were laid off, or if you got detained, or if you have court date and you don't know what to do, if you think you've been wrong at work or any place, they can give you advice, and or you can come to the protection department in our office. Those are the three pillars of the Mexican consulate. We do have a cultural department as well, and then we have our administrative offices and whatnot. It's a big office, as I said. It's about 120 staff members. But those services, our Consul General wanted it to have them in the mobile unit as well. Before, we only had We only expedited passport, matrículas consulares, consular IDs, and voters IDs in the mobile unit. With his idea, now we have the first step of the dual citizenship. We're giving away, we're processing as well birth certificates from Mexico, and we travel with an entourage of the protection department and community department with the mobile unit. So this was his vision. We've been working with it, and it has benefited a large group of the Mexican community.
Sounds like they stay pretty busy there.
Yes, yes, we do.
Well, so the advancements in technology have helped so much in a lot of those areas, like you mentioned, birth certificates. They used to take months to get. Now they can get them in probably a few days because they can print them at home, you just said.
Yes, well, it's not 3 days, it's just a few minutes now that you can get them, actually. And yes, it was such a hassle before because a lot of people didn't have those documents. Either they lost them or sometimes you misplaced them, and those are documents that you need in order to get your documents. It's not something that we're going to overview. You need to bring your original documents. Now, having this technology on hand and being able to either print it at your house or being able to come to the mobile unit or to the consulate in our main offices in Chicago and being able to print it there and to buy your true certified copy of your document, it has benefits a large community, and we've been able to identify and process so many documents like we've never before. And this was it was a joint effort, not only from every governor in our country, but by our president Enrique Peña Nieto as well. So it's been a true blessing for many people, and it's been a great challenge because we have to remember that the documents that we provide, even the true certified copies, have one of the highest qualities internationally, and our passports and our matrículas consulares, consular IDs, have one of the higher standards internationally, and we are one of the few countries that we can hand our document within an hour. There are a handpick of countries that you can come in and process your document and have it within an hour, and that's something. I mean,
something to be proud of. Yes, absolutely.
That's something
Great
that
service
we
to
are
your
very, very proud of.
constituents.
Well, thank you very much. It's a lot of services that the Mexican consul offered to his Mexican fellows. And we were talking about, before we started the conversation, about how the Mexican consulate and his appointments and the way to reach him had changed. Can you tell us what will be the best way for a Mexican citizen to reach out to the Mexican consul? What is the best way to get a hold of you to take advantage of one of the services that you offer?
Well, there's always several ways to contact us. We have several media outlets, either it's our webpage or Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, Flickr. We're in every media. We have our Mexitel number, 1-877 Mexitel, which is the number to make an appointment. All of our services for documentation require an appointment. If it's in the mobile unit or in our main offices in Chicago, you do need an appointment. For our protection services, you can go to our offices from 8 in the morning, business hours. And but you can either contact us via Facebook, via social media, our webpage, or you can make an appointment. You can always go to our main offices.
Thank you.
Now, how did you get the word out that you're going to be here today with the mobile unit? You said you saw several people here today. Was it well over 100?
Yes, we are expecting in our visit about 500 people in this 3 days.
And how do you get the word out to your constituents that you're going to be here?
Well, we have our social media, then we have several spots in TV and in radio. So our press attaché, he gets in charge of getting the word out, and we always have our allies that we send our flyers to, and they help us get the word around.
Apparently it works.
Yes.
Consul, how does the Mexican consulate work with local municipalities to address issues within the Mexican community?
Can you give me an example of what issues?
So if there is any issue, and you mentioned the different services, how do you work with municipalities when there's an issue? You mentioned there's different things that could happen to a Mexican citizen while living in a community. How do you work with the municipality to address those issues with Mexican citizens?
Well, there's always, the protection department would be the one that would get in contact with them if there's a specific issue. They would get in contact directly, and then if it's a personal matter, they will solve it directly with them. If the consulate is not involved directly, but it's more than a personal matter with one of our nationals, then it will be solved directly and treated as that.
I would think it'd be the same as any other resident around Lake Beach. If there's an issue that happens, we try to work with the people, and if they go to the Mexican consulate, then same thing, work to resolve the issue.
Exactly.
This question is for Consul Rebeca. Not everything could be, all good, so I'm sure that there's challenges in addressing issues with Mexican citizens. How did the Mexican consul address issues with or share information with Mexican citizens here in Illinois? Or challenges, or what can you see that there is difficulties in sharing news, or even challenges with your own programs?
Well, our challenges are always going to be reaching those 1.6 million nationals that we have in the area. So that's why we have to be very strategic in using our resources and trying to get the word out. As I said, the mobile unit tries to expand the most it can. We travel all the way to Springfield and all the way to Fort Wayne in Indiana. So we try to use the best. We try to make the best use of our resources, and that would be one of our biggest challenges, to get the word out and to provide our services to the largest of our communities. I've always said that it's easier to have a team of 13 people travel 500 miles than have 1,000 people travel all the way to Chicago. So even if we are a little bit tired sometimes, we're happy to bring our services, because there's nothing that is more satisfying than to see someone leave the door from the mobile unit and know that they're going to have all of their documentation in order.
We appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Consul, can you talk about cultural events? How do you partner with other agencies, local organizations to promote cultural events?
Of course. As I mentioned, we just had an event at the library in Fort Wayne, and that's part of the cultural education events that we have. We also just had a very large art exhibition at a library in Chicago. Constantly, we're having art exhibitions throughout Chicago. We have book readings and art openings, either it's in our offices or partnering with different institutes in Chicago. And we have a very important partnership with UNAM, with the University Autonomous in Chicago, and that's one of the universities that we partner with, to mention.
Thank you. The next question is for Mayor Hill. What are some of the services that the Village of Round Lake Beach offer to its residents, and how do they take advantage of all your services that you offer to your residents?
Well, the best way to find out about what we have to offer is probably our website. We have a very good website. It has all the different departments broken out in there. The different, the parks are probably our most used part of the village. That's not a direct like police service or public works service, which are just generally out there unless you have an emergency. We do have this facility right here, the Cultural and Civic Center. While we do rent it out, our residents receive a discount for renting this facility. We hold weddings here and quinceañeras and all sorts of fun stuff. We were here last night for a Round Lake area community meeting. So we're here quite a lot. It's a great facility. Right now we're only in the gathering lobby. You hold your event today back in our main banquet hall. We also have a downstairs area that has a black box theater, some meeting rooms. We have more meeting rooms up here. It's a full kitchen. So it has a lot to offer, this facility does. We also have a nice lakefront park. If you have time tomorrow, take a drive by our lakefront park. You'll really enjoy it. It's really serene down there, nice and calm. We have some shelters down there people can reserve for their birthday parties for the kids or their family, want to have a little cookout, whatever. It's a very nice area. We have a sand beach you can go swimming in. It's also a nice walking area that we added about 10 acres a couple of years ago. We can go across a walking bridge and just take a nice stroll through the nature back there. It's very nice. Right behind us in the Cultural Center here, the Park District has a nice fishing pier. I was actually out there with the grandkids a couple weeks ago. We went out there, caught a whole bunch of bluegills. It's a lot of fun. They hit a ball, so I encourage you to do that also. And there's so many other things in our community, but our website's probably the best way to find that stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, and I get to ask the last question for both. Are there any upcoming events that would you like to highlight?
Yes. Actually, this week, not only the Mexican consulate, but the 50 consulates throughout the United States, we're having what it's called La Semana de Derechos Laborales, which is the week of the information of Labor Information Week. And we have different events, not only in Chicago, not only in our offices, we're going to have them in the mobile unit as well. We have attorneys and workshops regarding labor work and regarding your rights when it comes to workers' rights. So it's going to be going throughout the week. As I said, it's not only here in Chicago, it's throughout the 50 consulates in the United States. And we have probably one of the most important events for not only the consulates, but for Mexico. We have the celebration of our independence coming up. And I want to extend, Consul Carlos Jimenez wanted me to invite you all to the celebration of our independence, which will be held on it's Saturday, September the 15th at Harrison Park, which is the heart of Pilsen, at 10 p.m. There's going to be music and food and dancing, and we give the traditional Grito de Independencia, so we would love to see you all there.
That sounds like a lot of fun. We've had the Mexican Fiesta this year. That's kind of the same weekend, around the 16th, 17th, a lot of times, and done a lot of great celebrations, embracing the spirit and the culture. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any events at the Village, Mayor, that you would like to highlight?
Oh, we have events constantly year-round. Let's see. Coming up, we have our midweek break by the lake. It's going to be, again, right here outdoors in our back door patio. We have some high school students that will be out there performing some music, some singing. We have some other groups outside in the indoors. Then we'll have a nice comedian. It's always fun to laugh a little bit and enjoy yourself. We have a fish boil coming up. I think it's October 20th, also right here at the Culture Center, and a Bluegrass Fest the same day. It's a lot of fun. I've never had a fish boil, and you like fish. This fish is so tender. To pull out of that pot, oh, it's so good. that and some boiled potatoes and some other odds and ends with it. You would enjoy that. There's always, again, we have tons of events here year round. This building gets so much use. We're so glad we built it back in 2007. And the community's really embraced it, which is nice to have a facility like this right in town. And not just for our residents, but for the whole county. It gets used by people throughout the county, which is always great. So again, best way to look at what events are coming up is our Round Lake Beach. We have a Facebook page for the Cultural and Civic Center and also our regular web page for the whole village. So constantly things, and the best thing to do is to sign up for our email list. That way you'll always get an email when things are happening. You never miss it.
Well, thank you for that. Now we have time for a few questions maybe from the audience. So if anybody has a question, raise their hand and I can bring the mic over.
Good evening. My name is Lourdes Shanjani. I am the Executive Director of Mano a Mano. I do not have a question, but I just have a comment, and I want to thank you both for hosting this conversation, which is really important and informational for our community. And I also want to say thank you to the Consul for partnering with Mano a Mano and always bringing services. Last year we were able to partner and after the flooding and provide some services for the Mexican nationals, and that was very helpful for our community members. And also we did some presentations of Know Your Rights this year as well, which were very welcomed by the community. So we're always looking for ways in which we can partner with the Consulate and also with the village to keep serving our community members. So thank you so much, both of you, for having the conversation tonight.
Thank you.
Well, I know I've done several of these over the last couple of years, and it's always exciting, it's always fun, and I always learn so much. You know, I've been in politics for all these years. You think at least I thought I knew everything, but I don't, I found out.
And we have Mano a Mano several times at the mobile units as well. They actually traveled with us to several locations, not throughout Illinois. We're very happy to have you all the time with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
Yes.
I just want to mention, Mayor, that with the congressman, it was hard to find a facility. And the consul, we were in touch like so many times through months.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say thank you. It was so good to come and talk to Dave and Kevin. They made it happen, and this was like the perfect facility. So thank you so much for having the consul and for facilitating the whole process. Thank you, Dave.
I'm glad it worked out. It's a benefit to everyone involved. The hardest thing sometimes, especially when you have multiple days like that, is finding the time we can do it. This facility is so booked, and if you plan now for next year, it should be no problem. But when you start in March, in the summertime, we're booked up. We're very lucky we have a couple days together, time together, and have you out with a mobile unit to help all the residents.
If you're able to make that commitment right now, we're able to make that commitment for 2019.
I think we can, yes.
Perfect.
Other questions, comments? Well, again, thank you all for being here tonight. Look forward to our next Fireside Chat. Let's see, the next one's going to be coming up on Thursday, October 11th. My guest then will be Rick Mack with Metra. So we'll be talking a little about the transit-oriented people going on their trains and so forth. And Consul Rebeca, I'd like to give you one of our pins from the Village of Round Lake Beach. I hope you'll wear that and share that.
Oh.
And thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.